If they put me, hijab, brother Sirtaj, they would on lie detector test. And they said the following questions. Do you love your wife? Yes. Pass. Would you die for her? Yes. Pass. If your wife was okay, would you get a second wife? Yes. Pass. There is not a conflict between a man loving his wife and a man wanting to be polygamous.
I agree.
Look, I get the polygamous part. I get the whole wanting to have more intimacy with more than one woman.
Yeah,
but if you can ask the question more accurately, that take on another wife and all the responsibilities that come with another wife, how many men will agree to that?
For example, if one says, I sense that you've got a second wife, can he say, no, I don't?
Yes, you can. You can say that.
You can say that.
Yes, I personally believe this is.
If we sit down and we talk about it, and I take my selfish needs out of it, i.e., me wanting him all to myself, I need to understand them. So I need to sit down and I need to really think about how this is going to affect him. It could lead him into doing zina.
Because my wife she always gave me the sort of the feeling that I could be open with her. I told her at one point that, look, babe, that's the sister.
Is that you, yeah?
I'm possibly one of...
If we're talking about secret second wife, if my husband has gone behind my back, that to me is cheating. Even if it is Islamically correct.
Feminist sisters who love their sisters, who will die for their sisters, will take a bullet for their sisters, but will not share their husbands for their sisters. So the point is this, let me be real, yeah? If you got a good husband, by the way, I'm not talking about these guys who don't pray, jahil clowns, yeah? Who don't pray, who oppress their wives. A good man who practices, who fears Allah, who's good to his wife, takes care of his wife. He comes and he says, I want a second wife. All hell breaks loose. And then we blame this man. Yeah, but why are you keeping it secret? What else should he do?
This is a test to see how Allah is testing her, to see how she responds. If she decides to do the opposite, which is, throw the divorce card or throw this card, then ultimately she's falling into the act of disobedience.
Thank you.
Which I'm now expected as a Muslim man to follow. It's not the religion of Al-Islam. It's the religion of women's feelings. I'm not going to follow that religion. With respect to you. I'm not going to do prostration to the collective hormonal and emotional status of men or women or children or anybody else.
You're saying if he's man enough. If your husband came to you man enough and said to you he wants a second wife.
At least then it's not secret.
Sister,
I knew
one
about it.
One second. Do you know about it? What are you going to do? Are you going to say to me, yeah, you can? Thank you. Your face says
No.
enough.
If he knows that she would withhold the kids from him, use the state, then do it without her knowledge.
But I believe that's a form of abuse.
You said, bro, and I'll call them cowards, who would rather make their wife happy at the displeasure of Allah. Yeah? A coward, the biggest coward ever, that would go and commit zina, adultery, at the cost of my wife. You are the biggest simp ever with a capital S. IslamNet is raising funds to establish a masjid and community center in Norway, and they urgently need your support. This donation will be a sadaqah jariyah for you, because every person that comes a step closer to Allah through your donation, you will inshallah be reaping the reward. Click the link and donate what you can. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and dear friends. Hope you guys are well, inshallah. Before I start, I want to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, the most just. All praises, glory and gratitude belong to Him. So just quick bit of buzzers. If you oppose anyone, just press it. You have 1.5 minutes. Let's try obviously not to backbite or slander. I know we're not going to, but just a disclaimer. And that our honourable sisters, our honourable brothers are here to discuss something pertaining for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we know there's an attack on the family unit, left, right, centre. And inshallah, our aim with that show is to counter that, inshallah, to preserve marriages. Let's get straight into it. The topic is secret second wives. And yes, the first topic is it okay? So what we're going to do is 2 segments. The first one is going to be that, is it okay for a man to be in a secret second marriage or third or fourth marriage for that? Let's start with you, Hijab, inshallah. Yeah?
So let me just summarize the points. I think when we say is it okay, now for Muslim people at least, this will become a fiqh discussion. Yeah. This becomes a jurisprudential discussion, an Islamic law discussion. Yeah. So with fiqh, there's two components. There's the abstract and then there's the application. Okay, the abstract you can refer to as fiqh or the rulings, or the asl al-hukm they would call it, and then you have tanzil al-hukm, which is the application, right? So to give you an example, marriage itself can take different rulings. Sugar can take different rulings. Like if someone's got diabetes and they take sugar, that can be haram for them. You see, if someone is morbidly obese and they eat food, that can be haram for them because it's harmful. So even food can take different rulings. Even though a piece of chicken, for example, or a cube of sugar in itself is not haram. But it can be haram in certain situations. Yeah, and so there's lots of things like that. In general, when we talk about this issue here, to get straight into it, when we talk about secret second wives, there's no such thing as secret second wives in Islam, because there's no secrets in nikah. You need to have at least 2 witnesses, okay, according to the majority of scholars. The Malikiyya, they say you don't even need to have witnesses. They say it's mustahab, it's not wajib. For the most part, that's the school of thought. But they use the hadith a'lan nikah, or you have to i'lan of the nikah. You have to, popularize it to the people. However, having said that, it is very possible for somebody to get married without telling their first wife in Islam, as an abstract hukm. Why? Because there's no prerequisite, there's no conditioning, ishtirat, there's no conditioning, according to any of the madhahib, in fact, that a man needs to tell his first wife or ask for permission from her or anything like that, in order for him to get a second. Practically, though, the issue is, if he does it, then he must now, and you think about it, if it's going to be a completely equal polygamy, which is the asl of the situation, then he's going to be having to at least divide the nights equally. Because in polygamy, you don't have to divide the days equally, you divide the nights equally. And the nights have a very specific definition from certain times. Now, what I'm saying is, now, the second wife, for this to actually be feasible, where the first wife doesn't know, the second wife must do misyar, really. For the most part, misyar is a kind of marriage where it's a tanazul an ba'd al-huquq, that she is voluntarily letting go of some of her rights. Forgoing her rights. And so, if she does that, and for example, she says to the man, come to me on such and such a day, on such and such a night, or such and such a place, this is legitimate in Islam. In fact, it has an asl in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ, Sauda bint Zam'a, did this with him. She let go of her nights for Aisha radiallahu anha. So it's not haram. In fact, it's something the Prophet ﷺ did himself. So the question now is, okay, you've got other issues like inheritance, because the inheritance changes. You do have to actually change your inheritance. It's interesting because Ibn Jawzi mentions this in one of his books, but I'll mention this afterwards, of the secret second wife. And by the way, scholars of the past did this. They married a woman without the first wife's knowledge. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani married the big scholar. He married a woman, her name was Unsi. Her first wife is called Unsi. She was a scholar in her own right, hadith scholar. And even some Western academics have written papers. Yusuf Rappaport wrote a paper about the fact that he married a second wife without the first wife knowing. And he was asking the question, why did he feel the need to do that? He was a very, if you want to put it in modern day terms, high value man, very rich. He was the biggest scholar of Islam at that time, but he didn't tell his first wife. In fact, there's even Ali radiallahu anhu didn't get married to a second woman, but there's a hadith of Buraidah. There's a hadith where it says that he went into a particular war or battle, and he took a prisoner of war. And he took a prisoner of war who's very beautiful. Buraidah wanted her as well. Okay, and then he said that he literally says khamasa. It's called the khums. So in the war booty, 1/5 goes to, like, let's say, the state. And then the Ahlul Bayt take 1/5 of that. So because Ali's from Ahlul Bayt, he put her, the Jariyah, in the 5th that he wanted. So Buraidah was very angry because he wanted to be with that woman. Anyway, the point is that Buraidah went to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ, he said he endorsed what Ali did. The point is, Fatima could never have known that he did that, because it was far away from Fatima. It was not in Medina. They were not in Medina. So you've got two things. The Prophet ﷺ endorsed it. Obviously, it could be argued that she wasn't a wife. Nevertheless, it's still a polygamous sexual relationship. And it was clear that he'd done a sexual relationship with her, because there's a whole discussion about him doing janaba and ghusl and all these kinds of things. Moreover, even the Prophet Muhammad himself. I mean, there's a verse in the Quran, وَإِذْ أَصَرَّ النَّبِيُّ إِلَى بَعْضِ أَزْوَاجِهِ حَدِيثًا. If no one thought about this verse. When the Prophet, he kept a secret from some of his wives. Some scholars, I'm not going to go into detail, but some scholars actually connect this with an incident with Maria the Copt and so on. And I'm not going to go into detail, but the idea of actually not telling your husband or your wife, to be fair, because the hadith in Sahih Muslim says, لا يحل الكذب إلا في ثلاث, that lying is not allowed except for 3 things. One of them is hadith al-rajul limra'ati, that when a man speaks to his wife. And in Sahih Muslim it says, and when a wife speaks to her husband.
White lies?
It doesn't have to be white. It can be a black lie. Sorry to say. I'm not. This idea of a white lie it's a modern day thing that people say. There's in the classical works. there's no differentiation there here in the kutub. Like, for example, that's not how people understood it. It can be, you can lie to your spouse. In this situation, so the issue of this is that.
So can they lie in the context of, for example, if one says, I sense that you've got a second wife, can he say, no, I don't?
Yes, you can. You can say that.
You can say that.
Yes, I personally believe this is the hadith on the master. لا يحل الكذب إلا في ثلاث. The Prophet said you can do it. Yeah, I believe it's possible. Now, having said this all, I said this is the abstract ruling.
Yeah.
But in implementation, okay, now because like I said, the hukum can take different rulings based on a personal side. If someone does this and they get caught, for example, or something happens, or some negative.
Or she just asks him, "Where were you last night?"
Yeah, but even that he can lie. We've already said.
So you are allowed to lie
Yes,
anything related to the relationship.
I believe it's not anything, because there are some things you can never lie about in Islam.
Yeah.
For example, you can never lie about the religion of Islam. You can never lie about something which relates to the rights of the person. You can never lie about something that relates to vested interest, like the children, for example. There's things you can never lie about, but I believe yes, you can.
But are you saying in the context of, for example, it's going to ruin the family unit, so he's lying to protect his family?
Look, I'm saying to you, I don't recommend this. But we started off by saying that there's two things. There's one aspect which is jurisprudential, and another aspect which is application. Jurisprudential, the man can do it. It's up to the man. No woman can take that right away from the man. Okay, it's impossible.
So let's get this right, yeah? So that Islamically, any of us can get a secret second wife.
Absolutely.
Or any man for that matter.
Not secret. We can get, Islamically, there is no problem in a man getting married to another woman in Misyar without the first wife's knowledge. However, the question is, and there's no khilaf in this.
Yeah.
There's actually, I've not seen one solitary difference of opinion in any of the 14 generations of Islam. It's not there.
Which is?
Any scholar saying that, no, a woman needs to know, she needs to tell her, doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's it.
Having said that, do I recommend it? No, I don't recommend it in general.
No, we'll come to it. We'll come, hold you. Why do you recommend it?
Yeah.
But, okay, guys, after this show, if you see any of us dead, please come to our janazah. Please make dua for us and sadaqah jariyah.
Sorry, can I ask one more thing?
Yes, please.
We're talking about the religion of Islam. Like, Allah says, وَأَن تَقُولُ عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. I'm not here to, with respect, I don't prostrate myself to the emotions of women or men or anyone else. I'm speaking about the religion. This is a ruling. We cannot distort the rulings.
There's an ayah in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet that, are you going to make something which is haram for you, halal for you, haram, because of the fear of your wives? That's a very deep statement. That could be
to make your wives pleased with you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I believe brothers should fear Allah more than their wives. But having said that, you guys heard it. I mean, please tell me. I don't think. I think there's bil ijma, meaning there's consensus that none of you guys are okay with your husbands getting a second wife. Can I just quickly get that out of the way, Sister Swad?
Absolutely not.
You're not okay with it? Yeah, listen, Sister.
It's a no from me. And if you have anything to say it now.
She's threatening him.
You're finished.
Yeah.
Sister Amira.
Yeah, no.
No, Sister Tyra.
And I won't be happy with it.
Okay, she won't be happy with it. Okay, now listen.
I like that response.
Now listen. Yeah, may Allah bless them. Now listen to us, brothers. Yeah. Okay, starting from Dawood. Yeah. Would you say you are polygamous by nature?
Hey, we had this conversation before.
Can we have you on the mic, please?
And I disagree with.
No. I'm just asking a simple question. Let's not go into the nitty-gritty. All I'm saying is,
I'm not going to say I'm polygamous by nature. I'll say that.
Bro. Let me answer the question again.
Yeah.
If your wife was totally okay with it, zero problems. You come back home and she's cooking a meal, bruv. You just got married.
Yeah.
Would you get a second wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would.
No, we're gonna miss the brother because we don't want his. Look, okay, put it like this, yeah. We're just saying this within our nature, yeah.
Just be careful, Saj. Be
just
careful.
jokes aside, yeah.
Blame Jamil.
If you die, we loved you, yeah. It was for the cause, yeah. Okay, brothers. Okay, what I'm just saying is that as a man, would you not say you are polygamous by nature? It doesn't mean you have to act upon it, but would you not say that every man is polygamous by nature? That if their wives were totally okay with it, no consequences, that they would do it.
I don't think I would.
Nah.
No, but I
One second,
because the thing is, I work on the doors.
Guys, 1 second.
Well, the thing is, I work on the doors.
Because there's conflict of interest here as well.
Yeah. I work on the doors. Let's say I work on the doors.
Okay.
The thing is, I work on the doors. There's so many women out there, but the thing is, it doesn't do nothing for me.
No, we know that. Look, I have no doubt about that. What I'm saying is the following, Aki, yeah? The reason I'm saying this, and we need to be brutally honest, the reason I'm saying this, you know why? Because sisters are under the impression that there is a man out there that is not polygamous. I believe.
But that's true. That can be
that's
true.
delusion. Anyone that thinks that is delusional.
Okay,
No, it is true. Not every man is polygamous.
One second. Let me tell you something. If they brought a lie detector test right now, this second, no, one second. You know why? And they, no. If they listen. If they put me, hijab, brother Sirtaj, Dawood on lie detector test, and they said the following questions: do you love your wife? Yes, pass. Would you die for her? Yes, pass. If your wife was okay, would you get a second wife? Yes, pass. There is not a conflict between a man loving his wife and a man wanting to be polygamous.
I agree.
And this is very important. If we're going to, and I'm not saying, I hear you out here, but what I'm saying is,
You're gonna get me.
listen, let's pass you, okay? Let's pass you because we're here to make
No,
marriage.
that's all
And what
right.
are you trying to say that
I-
every man would want to?
Yes, sister.
Men are polygamous
why
by
would they
nature.
want to?
Women are
Okay,
jealous
sister, so
by
let me-
nature.
I believe men are
Okay.
polygamous
I
by
Thank you.
nature.
They
Okay,
are.
sister.
They
Okay,
are.
However,
Guys,
not like all.
guys, we can hear you. Please, forgive me because it's coming at the back of the mic. Please forgive me.
We
Yeah.
don't disturb the issue at hand.
This is look. The reason why I started the show and I called it Bitter Truth for a reason. Yeah, is because at the end of it, look, my wife is here. She's a co-producer. Okay. If I went to my wife and said, if I got married again, she will say, "Over my dead body." I don't want it. I understand that. And any woman that says she's okay with it, I'll say, "I'm so sorry, you're not." Because the best of the women who are believers smashed plates, literally smashed plates. Yeah. Now the point is the following, though. The reason you're saying that, sister, is why? Because we as men, we are, and the studies that show this, we are created in a way of procreating. For example, if, there was 4 men left on earth, yeah, and that was it, yeah, they can start a new generation. Those 4 men, they can, forgive me, just for educational purposes, yeah, they can impregnate thousands of women. That's within our nature. But if there was 4 women left on this planet, yeah, they're finished because you're giving birth 9 months, you're out the game. So the point I'm saying when it comes to the evolution and a few other factors, the point I'm trying to say is the following. Like when it comes to survival phase, like you have to procreate, yeah?
Okay.
Every man is polygamous by nature in the context where, because you guys are monogamous by nature, meaning you just want your husband and you're happy with your husband. We are not created like that. And anyone that says they are vice versa, and this is the reason why we started the show. Get to know us better. Understand us men. This is in our blood. Okay. Now, coming back to you, Aki.
You can just say it. Just say it.
The point is,
I think I know what you mean.
what I mean is that in our nature, look, this doesn't mean.
It is in our
that's
nature, yeah.
understandable.
It's
Ali, can you
100% I
reframe
agree
the
with
question?
Okay, I'm so sorry.
So can you
One second, guys, from there, please. You let my wife know, and then from me, and then I'll come to you guys.
Can you
please.
reframe the question
Yes.
to the brothers and say that if your wife agreed and she's happy, would you like to, because I get the polygamous part, I get the whole wanting to have more intimacy with more than one woman. But if you can ask the question more accurately, that take on another wife and all the responsibilities that come with another wife, how many men will agree to that?
Good. You know what? And
That's
that's
a good point.
and that's
Because
and,
I'll tell you with my husband, he's
yeah.
made it very clear in that,
Yeah.
that, the headache and the stress, not that I give him headache and stress, but just he's so content in our relationship,
Okay.
he wouldn't see himself, engaged in another, that because
Okay,
it's a whole
sister, but
family,
let me put this here. This is the reason why the topic is secret second wives. Is the question that needs to be asked is that why are men even choosing to make it secret? And the whole reason is because if your husband's supposed to come to you and say, I want to get married again and I want to do it properly, yeah? Now, I say to the sisters, if you don't want your husband to get a second wife, you tell him that if he's going to get a second wife, he has to do it properly. Meaning, which is what, and let me tell you something. If you don't want your husband to get a second wife, implement this, yeah? You tell him you're going to marry her. You're going to do a walima for her. You're going to get her mahar. You're going to get all of this stuff. You know what you'll say? You'll say, bro, that's long.
absolutely. Yeah.
But if there are men out there who can do that, the question I want to ask you guys is, what is the right way so men don't go behind their wife's back? Why are they keeping it secret? Because they are scared of the consequences. Not seeing their kids, being kicked out, being blackmailed. These are major sins, by the way. Not showing your kids. I know brothers who have been divorced and not seeing their kids because they wanted to get second wife. This is dhulm. On the day of judgment, are you mad? Something he did halal, understand, it's emotional, you're upset. You are stopping him from seeing his kids. You are now going to the law. Bro, we had brothers here, we had fathers here, accused of pedophilia with their kids because of a bitter wife. I'm asking a simple question, yeah? I think there's bil ijma here. You guys would never want it. We would, definitely.
But
What-
there are
can-
ways
can I-
that women
Sister Amira,
can implement
No, Sister Amira, I'm asking a question.
where a husband cannot marry a second wife.
That's-
If he agrees and signs
No.
on the day of the nikah, he cannot then
you're
go
talking about-
and get a secret
That's
wife.
the Hanbali method. But if somebody doesn't believe that, it's battered. He doesn't even acknowledge it. Yeah.
Can we-
And
can we-
also
can we address this point?
yes.
That's a good point.
I'm gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
But after him, I want to ask you guys a question. Please, can you tell us the correct way of going about it so it's not secret?
But this is what she said is there's truth in what she
Yeah,
said.
of course.
And
Hanbali
Hanbali madhab. The Hanbali madhab is actually mentioned in all the books of the Hanabila. Ibn Qudama mentions that. What do you call it? Mirdawi mentions that. Al-Hajjawi mentions, even Zal Mustaqna, Musa al-Hajjawi mentions it. So many people mention it. Bahuti. So this is what you're saying is legitimate. In fact, if someone puts in the contract, maybe I should be given all the.
No, you should give the tips.
No,
Even
no,
if
no.
The brothers
We're-
gonna
we're-
Even if
we're
it's against the
giving-
brothers, it's a bit of truth.
We're given all the.
Speak the
Funny
truth.
enough,
We're gonna take it back. Don't worry.
funny enough, I'm Hanbali myself. You know.
I'm Maliki.
Okay, but all the other madhahib actually don't agree with this, and the reason why is they bring it. There's a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that says, "Ayu shartin laysa fi kitabillahi fahuwa batil." That any condition that is not in the book of Allah, then it's nullified. So they say that this is a incorrect. So the Hanafis don't accept this, the Shafi'is don't accept this, and the Malikis don't accept this. So if the woman is Hanbali, for example, she puts this agreement, and he's not this thing. No, but he's not this thing. He doesn't. It's all about what he believes in. If he doesn't believe in it, it might not be veracious. However, I would add to it. The Prophet ﷺ did say, "Al-Muslimun ala shurutihim." Muslims are upon their condition, which is ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awful al-uqud. You know, oh you who believe, fulfill the contract.
Yes.
So if a man does sign something like that, I would personally believe it's an obligation for him to honor that.
100%.
Having said that, once again, it goes back to the madhab he's following, right? So if he's not following that particular school of thought, if he isn't, that's something else. So that's just, I think there's a good point.
Okay,
So before we slide away, because I feel like
Okay, so all
the
right.
first
Oh my
question that was asked about is secret. Is it okay to have a secret wife? I would love to go back there.
Please, yeah.
I mean, I think I haven't personally looked into it, so I'll take your word. So I don't know. That might be a different opinion. I don't know. I take what Hijab said about like that. It's like agreed upon that you shouldn't. That it's okay to do it secret. But I would love to speak about the implications that it has a bit more, because it's something I feel like that we didn't really discuss, because
Okay.
because the implication here is that the secret, like, okay, obviously nothing is really secret. Again, you can't have a secret wife per se, because
You have to announce.
it's marriage in Islam, the way it's constructed.
Yeah, but
it's,
let's not sugarcoat it. It's a secret from the first wife.
I'm gonna.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna
Why
get
is
there.
it
Yeah,
a
but this
secret?
is the whole thing,
May
right?
I
The
finish?
whole
May I finish?
topic
Because
is-
because
Bro, you got a buzzer. You
it's
can use
a
a buzzer.
secret from the first
yeah,
wife.
but I'm trying to
Sorry.
take it elsewhere. I'm trying to
Bro,
go
press your
deep.
buzzer.
I want to go deep. I want to go deep. So what I'm trying to say is that Islam, in the way that Islam has constructed marriage is like a communal thing. So there's always other people involved, but it will be a secret to the person that matters the most, which is the wife, right? And I don't think that that causes cohesion in the long term in a society. Imagine if we were to live in a society where there's a considerable amount of men who do this. There's so many implications that come out of it. The children out of those marriages, do they know that they're siblings?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you've mentioned
so all these
children in
problems
this
could-
Okay,
as
but
well.
yes, true. But why
Let me
is
just
the man
finish.
keeping it secret?
I'm just going to finish. I'm just going
Yes,
to
true.
finish. I'm
Touch
just
up
going
on
to
that.
finish.
Why is the man keeping it secret?
Yeah, and I'm going to get there, and I'm with you on that one. I'm just saying that for those brothers who do these things, you must understand that the pain and the misery that could be a byproduct of this thing is tremendous,
I do agree with you.
and therefore I wouldn't, like I said, not really
I think that
recommend it.
what Dawud said is a very important point. You mentioned the kids. That's an important point. The inheritance is another important point. These are two things you can't really, because actually the misyara thing, you cannot actually tanazul on inheritance. It's not you cannot forego that right as a woman.
Yes.
You know you're allowed to forego rights. You're not allowed to forego your inheritance.
Yeah.
So it poses an issue here. So the guy has to kind of put her in inheritance or whatever. That's one issue.
Yeah.
The other issue is, like we said, the children. If there's children from both wives and they're in the same proximity and there is some level of possibility that they could mingle, then that could be completely haram for that to happen, because now the implications is incest and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So this is one thing. But having said this, you know, and I agree with what he said. This is what we're talking about is an exceptional circumstance. That Sharia doesn't want this.
Yeah.
It's clear that the Sharia wants people to know about marriages. It's clear that Sharia wants there to be a transparency in the equation, that everyone is given. It's clear that the Sharia doesn't want misyar. It's clear that this is not. These are the exceptional circumstances. So we shouldn't make it the default.
Okay, but why is it default?
Having said that,
Why?
we're living in an age now where, frankly, the woman has the state backing. Like, for instance, if the woman goes and says that a man has raped me, or that he has molested the child, or he's been domestic, there's a chance that he can never see the children again. Like, for example, the .gov website, I was reading recently, just now, like 2 days ago. They're now expanding the definition of abuse. They said abuse, I can send this to you, it said abuse includes in controlling behavior. Now, controlling behavior, what does that? It's so vague that it actually slides into some of the traditionalist discourse, if you think about it. Controlling behavior, it said in the .gov website that it is on par with physical violence, and if a man does it, he can be on the sexual register.
Sorry, I was on a documentary for the BBC, and it's called "Is This Coercive Control?" And when we speak of coercive control, the reason why it can be equated to physical violence is because of the amount of damage that can happen. Coercive control, although it doesn't seem like dangerous, I know what you're saying. Of course, Amira.
From what I remember from the document, it used two keywords in like it was self-contained. Two different sentences. Coercion was one word, and control was another word. What you're doing now is using both words together.
No, but they are one thing. So coercive control is one. It is one crime.
No. The reason they're not the same, because in the dictionary you'll see coercion means to force someone to do something. Control is not necessarily. It can have a wider meaning, right? So what I'm saying is, if you controlling behavior, you can say my mum had controlling behavior of me. She was controlling. You cannot say that she had coercive behavior. That means that she forced you to do something. What I'm saying is that we're not talking about forcing someone to do something here, like putting them in a house and locking them. We're talking about a situation where someone is telling someone else what to do, which you can see that leads into ta'ah and obedience and that kind of thing, which that could be seen as controlling. So what I'm saying is that if consider the things at the man's disposal as a Muslim man. He's got ta'ah, okay? He's got ta'ah means obedience. These are the things that a man has. He's got talaq, or she can do fasq, but he can do it quicker. Even she can do fasq, right? And then he's got the financial thing where he can reduce according to all the madhahib. I'm not sure all of them. Definitely the Hanbali madhab. He can, if she's being bad, he can take money away from her. I'm not sure if you know this. If she's nashes, you can. Now, if you do 1 and 2, this can be seen in this country as abuse. So if she has evidence of that and she's got the state backing, if he tries to impose his masculinity or his Islamic, abilities on her, then she can respond in a malicious manner. Which is why I would say that if a woman shows her claws in that way, where now he's doing what he's allowed to do in Islam, and she's now giving him blackmailing, threatening, and stuff like that. In a situation like this, I would actually recommend for certain men where he feels like if she blackmails him, if you get divorced to me, another man will raise your children. Or let's say, let me just say, for example, if you get divorced, if this happens, you'll never see your children again. The moment you see a woman speaking like that, this is an option of secret, second, whatever you want to call it. I think it becomes a very legitimate option.
But and are men to blame to go down that route when they have wives who are going to make their life hell?
So just to get back to that point, I think it's fine, but there's a term in Islam, taqabbih, where somebody is now abusing that. And it says, I'm sure there's a hadith, it says where you shouldn't do that to your wife for a prolonged time. And if somebody taqabbih, so insulting or taking away their rights and things like that, if somebody is abusing that, then okay, that's one case. But of course, there are women out here who do abuse the state backing in regards to the children, which I'm completely in disagreement with.
Okay, we know, but it's
back to the second wives.
So before you continue, I don't think what you said is correct. But the taqabbuh, يعني لا تقبح الوجه is what you're talking about. There's only one hadith that can لا تقبح الوجه, don't hit the face. but there's يعني, which means تقبح means actually قبيح means ugly. What قبيح means ugly thing. So تقبيح means to make something ugly. The only
But there
hadith,
is a different meaning
no,
for it, no?
تقبيح قبيح means ugly thing. Okay. تحسين means beautiful thing. All right. So تحسين is beautiful. تقبيح is, so تقبح لا تقبح الوجه. The Prophet ﷺ said that, which means don't humiliate the face. You know, there's a hadith on that. But so just we need to be clear on hadith.
Can we come back to the topic at hand, please?
Okay, sorry. Can I make the point? So for me,
why
I
are
agree.
men going down that route of hiding it from their wives? Because we don't want this to be secret. I'll be honest with you. No man wants to keep it secret. No man wants to go do anything behind his wife's back. So the point is this: if we are created in this manner, you guys are created with certain hormones. Yes, for example, because we're learning here. Yes, you have your period, you have your menopause, you become pregnant, etc. There are so many factors. Men don't blame women and say, "Oh, you know, why are you periods? Why are you in menopause for?" Yeah. And when it comes to intimacy, a lot of men actually feel deprived. Their partners they're not as bothered. And the thing is here that now we as men are blamed. No, we as men are blamed for a hormone that we are created with. We accept your hormone. You're on the hormone, no problem. We can no intimacy for a week, no problem. Menopause, pregnancy, it's all good. When a man has these hormones, number one, you are not allowed to have it. Number two, if you were to go to act upon it, I'm going to make your life hell. So I'm asking a simple question. What does a man should do? Tell me, the men want to know the correct way of going about this without making it secret second wife. Because to me, from my point of view, it seems like none of the men want to make it secret. But the pressure, outside pressures from our wives and God knows what other elements is causing men to be like, you know what, I have to go the secret way.
For me, I agree polygamy is permissible. A man doesn't need to, I can't go away from Islam. He doesn't need to tell me, okay? But aside from Islam, I think my integrity, my dignity, my, who I am as a person, I would think it's so disrespectful for my husband to go and marry somebody else secretly without giving me the knowledge.
What about openly?
Can
he come openly?
Before openly, if we're talking about secret second wife, if my husband has gone behind my back, that to me is cheating, even if it is fine. Islamically correct. However, wait, hold on. Yeah. If he was to come to me prior to him doing this and having that conversation with me, which we've already openly discussed this, I want a second wife, genuinely.
What would you do?
We would have a conversation. I'm not somebody who's not understanding. However, at least he gave me an option first, and he's given me a right in a way so I can make an informed decision for myself.
I understand, but let's go back to what you said before. Aside Islam, dignity, respect, with respect, that aside Islam or beside it, you don't have any of those things anyway. Dignity or respect.
I know, I agree.
So just this idea of aside Islam, we're Muslims. There is no aside Islam in this discussion. If I was speaking to an atheist, as I do, we can bring in liberalism and feminism, but I'm speaking to a Muslim. So there is no aside Islam here. That's the first thing.
Okay, but you said lying is not okay, but is okay for a husband to lie to you. If he's lying to me every night,
we let you speak. So
why is he lying?
We'll let you speak. So let me just come back to the second point that you mentioned. You said it's cheating.
After you're going to go to that.
You said it's cheating. Like cheating is a word, is a construct in the English language, which means infidelity, usually for the most part, right? Infidelity, for us, it means someone has done something which is one of the kaba'ir min al-dhunub, major sins of Islam. We cannot equate something which is mubah, which is the Sharia has not even put a sin on it, with something which is kabira min kaba'ir. Which means now you're going back to the true religion, which I'm now expected as a Muslim man to follow, is not the religion of al-Islam, it's the religion of women's feelings. I'm not going to follow that religion, with respect to you. I'm not going to do prostration to the collective hormonal and emotional status of men or women or children or anybody else. I'm not going to do this. So I'm saying now we go back to the book and the sunnah. Well, the question is, what exactly are we objecting to? I'm saying that at the end of the day, everyone here has agreed that this is not what Sharia wants. It's not the best case scenario. It's not the default situation. In fact, what Ali said at the end there was a very good point. Because let's say, for example, a woman withholds from the man sexually. In Islam, this is a kabira min al-kabair. It's one of the major sins of Islam. one of the heavy sins, la'na, is put on it. It's not like the angels.
What's that?
The angels, if the woman withholds from the man, that the angels will continue cursing until he wakes up. Now, if a woman is doing this to a man, wallahi uqsum billah, and this is my advice, and this is controversial. My advice to the brother is to get married again. Now, I'm saying that he can either do it secretly without her knowledge, or not secretly. If he knows that she would withhold the kids from him, use the state, then do it without her knowledge.
But I believe that's a form of abuse when a woman is withholding just because she wants to withhold.
Just want to say something, sister. I've come across so many women that because we're from in Pakistan, the men come in here because when they get married over there, they bring the men here and they abuse him. They abuse him bad. You know what I mean? They don't let him to do anything. They work. They take the money off them. They give him nothing. You know what I mean? So the thing is, what they do, they have a secret marriage. But the way the women look at it, they'd rather the man cheat than get married. You know what I mean? So the thing is, they say, commit zina, but be with your wife. You know what I mean? And this is the time we live in. You know what I mean?
I agree. Some women have that mentality.
No, not some women. Sister,
I believe some women have that mentality, but...
Can we go to Sister Suad for a second?
The solution is men need to stop being cowards and speak to the wife first and tell them.
One second. Sister Suad.
I would disagree with that. I would disagree with that,
Before we go to Sister Suad, yeah? If your husband came to your sister Amira, may Allah bless you and your husband and preserve your marriage and protect you guys. You're saying if he's man enough. If your husband came to you man enough and said to you he wants a second wife,
at least then it's not secret.
Sister,
I knew
one
about
second,
it.
One second. It's again a bit selfish because you're like, I just want to know about it. Okay, you know about it. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna say to me, yeah, you can? Thank you. Your face says
No.
enough. Your face says enough. Sister Swad.
We will talk about it.
Yeah.
We will talk about it.
I think that's what we need to do. Like when you're a married couple, every problem you have, you discuss it. So this is, again, for us as women, it's a problem. And for him, it's a problem. So if we sit down and we talk about it, and I take my selfish needs out of it, i.e. me wanting him all to myself, I need to understand that there's more, like that's how Allah has made them, and Allah has opened up to 4 wives for them. So I need to sit down and I need to really think about how this is going to affect him. It could lead him into doing zina. It could lead him to do haram stuff. And I really need to understand, do I want that for my husband? Again, we need to be in a relationship where we're both empathetic towards each other. If we expect our husbands to understand, oh, I'm really moody because I'm on my, I'm pregnant, so I'm feeling. So if we want them to understand us, why is it us as women can't return the favor and understand them?
Thank you. And we're going to go to Sister Sol. She wants to ask a question. Can we get the cameras to Sister Sol, inshallah? May Allah bless Sister Sol. She's one of the sisters who have an amazing contribution to our podcast. I disagree with some stuff she says, but I still invited to the show. Yes, Sister Sol.
One of the things that no one is mentioning is the fact that, alhamdulillah, we've made the point that when obviously husbands are being denied this haq and women are starting to threaten with the kids and that, and they are very maybe in a tempting situation, we get that shar'an, like the brother Muhammad says, it's allowed. But no one is talking with the fact that brothers are using secret wives and abusing those situations because sometimes they are cowards. Sometimes they don't want the trouble. They don't want the wife to annoy them. Rather than going, convincing them, being the man, making sure they are the right protector, provider, showing the wife they are able to take care of 2 families. They will rather, let's just be honest, pay no rent and grab a second wife. And I think this is
good.
that
Okay,
we-
good. I'm gonna come to it. One second. I'm gonna come to just a quick thing, yeah. But I'm gonna, you know who I'm gonna blame in this very instance? I'm gonna blame the sisters because I'm so sorry, not everybody, yeah. That there was a statement that was made I saw on Instagram. It said when a woman is divorced, she's not divorced. She's divorced by her husband, not divorced by the ummah. And when I said, the sister was like, "Yeah, so true." And I was like, "Yeah, sister, would you share your husband?" Oh, what happened? Your face, you start crying. What happened? She's not divorced by the ummah. Are you not a part of the ummah? So the question is this. Sisters are self-sabotaging the other sisters. Feminist sisters who love their sisters, who will die for their sisters, will take a bullet for their sisters, but will not share their husbands for their sisters. So the point is this, let me be real, yeah? If you got a good husband, by the way, I'm not talking about these guys who don't pray, jahil, clowns, yeah? Who don't pray, who oppress their wives. A good man who practices, who fears Allah, who's good to his wife, takes care of his wife. He comes and he says, I want a second wife. All hell breaks loose. And then we blame this man. Yeah, but why are you keeping it secret? What else should he do? Dawood,
Can I make a point? Sorry, just on that, before I lose it. So as Muslim men, we understand the ghaira that the woman has. Yeah, we know that the best of us women broke plates, like you mentioned, Ali.
These were a few hadiths,
So
by the way.
yeah, a few hadiths, but we understand that.
It wasn't a constant thing.
No, but we understand that this is a painful thing, and men, you guys understand it more, that it may hurt the wife. Okay, so you know that the reaction is always going to be tough. So this is why we say it's cowardice and cowardly
But why
when
do we
a
have to bring,
man.
sorry to cut you there, why do we need to bring
can-
names into it? Why do we
No,
have to call
because
it
it is.
cowardly?
It's
What
cowardly
exactly
when
is
a man
cowardly? Yeah.
doesn't go to his wife to tell her because he's afraid of that reaction.
Let me just respond. 'Cause I wanna respond.
He's just afraid of the reaction.
Let me ask a question. Surah Al-Tahrim, chapter 66 of the Quran. وإذ أصر النبي إلى بعض أزواجه حديثا فلما نبأها به عرف بعضه عن بعض فلما نبأها به قالت من أنبأك هذا قال نبأني الخبير عليم الخبير. Allah is telling us what the Prophet ﷺ did. Yeah. وإذ أصر النبي, the Prophet ﷺ, this is in the Quran. You're reading it. You're going to read it in Ramadan. He done sir, which means he hid information from part of his wives and told other parts of his wives. Now, he went to those wives that he hid the information. He said, do not tell these other wives. Do you see what's happening here? Now, let me make it even more controversial for you. Some people in tafsir, there's two riwayas. What is this talking about? You might know the honey story, the honey story when Aisha and Hafsa, they conspired and stuff. This is the most famous opinion of Ibn Kathir. But there's another opinion, which is that actually the Prophet ﷺ took Maria al-Qibtiyya, he took her to the bed of Hafsa, and he had intercourse with her on her night, in her house. And then this is what the Prophet ﷺ told her, don't tell the other ones. I
can understand the logic.
Let me finish. Is the Prophet ﷺ a coward?
No.
خلاص. If the Prophet ﷺ is a coward, is not a coward, خلاص. In that case, we're saying that to hide information from some of the wives is not cowardice. If you accuse this, if you want to use this word cowardice to describe hiding information from some of the wives, then you'll be implicating the Prophet ﷺ, number one.
No,
number one.
No.
Number two, let me just finish. I'm not saying you mean that. I'm just saying this is the implication. I say that this is the bait that a stupid man will take. That when for example, his wife is already threatening him, blackmailing him, and these kind of things. He knows that the state has got her backing. In those situations where you can see her claws and her malice, for her to call you a coward and stuff like that, I would say to the brothers that want to do polygamy and not let the first wife, do never fall for that bait ever.
But okay.
So in fact, there is a hikmah. There is a hikmah in not telling your spouse something sometimes.
I understand that.
What I'm saying
I understand the logic because I'm a logical thinker.
Having said that, I'm not saying that this is the rule. I'm still telling you that this is the exception. But it's the exception for whom? Because we're living in an age where there is a pandemic now of women using the children, weaponizing them against their husbands, saying you can never see your children again, you will never be able to see them again. And it happens. We've seen them, some of them commit suicide. Some of them,
we had them on the show.
One of them
about to cry.
So many of them. It's becoming too much. So I'm saying that instead of doing domestic violence, instead of doing things which will get you a record in this country, ruining your life, do this. This, for me, I believe that this is a better option, than going into all these things which the woman's going to put you in the prison, because she has so much. That particular woman, which in my opinion is the minority of women. Majority of Muslim women are not like that.
Thank you.
I believe it's the minority of women. If it's 5% of them or 10, I don't know how many of them. But they're willing to go down there. It's the minority of women, minority of women. But for those women, this should apply. Or at least it's an option for the man.
I disagree. I wouldn't say it's majority of women. I wouldn't say it's minority of women. It's just a thing of the moment you come to your wife and say, I want a second wife, then you will realize if that minority is a majority. I'm going to go to Sister Suad. Just a few disclaimers here. When we're talking about this topic, some people come and say to me, "Bruv, why are you so obsessed?" People come to me and go, "Bruv Ali, why are you so obsessed with this polygamy thing?" Yeah, okay. Even my wife says, "Why are you so obsessed with it?" Yeah, the reason I say is, Wallahi, billahi wa tillahi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is my witness. Yeah, okay. The reason I say is, bro, I hear stories. This is breaking the family unit. There are men, like you said, bro, and I'll call them cowards, who would rather make their wife happy at the displeasure of Allah. Yeah, a coward, the biggest coward ever, that would go and commit zina, adultery, at the cost of my wife. You are the biggest simp ever with a capital S. Yeah,
Yeah,
With
especially
a
if you
capital
have the
S.
option to marry.
Exactly.
I
And the
believe
thing
that.
is, you fear your wife so much. So the reason I'm talking about this is because I see family units breaking down. Wallahi, billahi, wa tillahi. This is the reason why I'm doing this show. Yeah. Yes, as a man, he might be like, yeah, because you're a man, you want. Wallahi, the reason I do is because I see the breakdown of the family unit. And why? Because men, like our dear sister said, your wife, may Allah bless her. Why would a man really want that? You need to understand our sister. If we understand each other better, our biology, the way we think, psychology, marriages will improve. Sister Swad.
And just following off what you said, I think that's a good point that you just made, us understanding each other's biology. And you were saying about he's a coward for coming at you and saying that he wants a second wife. I don't.
I said he's a coward if he
If
doesn't come
at
to
you,
me
yeah.
as a wife. I think that is very cowardly.
But this is the thing. This is the logical thinking in a man's head. He's weighing up the pros and cons. He knows you as his wife. He knows how you are going to react to that based on other conversations you had. So I don't think it's cowardice for him to say, actually, it's not worth me having this headache. It's not worth me blowing up my family. And for men, it's a lot worse. If you guys were to get divorced, and I'm not saying it for you,
Of course.
but if a man and woman were to get divorced, it's more the man that has to that the courts come heavily down on. 50%.
But isn't it more of a task to be lying to your wife who you're with?
One second.
Can I
Sister-
just
7 days
say-
a
No,
week?
one second.
But
Sister
my
Swad.
boss
But
thinks
why
that-
is he doing it?
Sorry.
One second. Sister Swad
and-
she's got 30 seconds.
And the reason why he's doing it is because he doesn't feel confident in us
dawah.
as women to be able to have a logical conversation. We're very emotional. So instantly we hear second wife, and me included, our jealousy goes straight through the roof. We don't want to hear anything else he's got to say. Whereas he's sitting there with a logical mind. So then you've got two illogical minds, if you like, because I'm emotional and he's just like, look, it's from A to B, and I'm going, well, what about C, D, E, and going round the circles, and that's where the problem comes. So he's thinking, rather than dealing with this headache, let me just go do what I want to do, and then
Can I
that's where we
respond to
have
her
to
quickly?
take
5 seconds.
accountability as women. Like we have to be accountable for our husbands having to lie to us because we can't have that logical
Okay.
conversation with
So
them.
it should be a
That's
case by
the
case.
But
stem of the
also,
matter.
as a mother,
Yes, sister.
like I feel like, yes, your husband has his needs and his wants and his desires, and you might not be fulfilling that. But I would expect my husband to put my children before all of that, personally.
Sister.
He's still providing
But
for
my
us.
dear sister, one sec. Okay, we're gonna go to. But my dear sister, what you said, may Allah bless you, preserve you. Yeah, well, thanks for coming. But look, imagine a man, imagine your husband coming and saying that you have a hormonal need, whatever it may be, and he's like, you need to put me, the kids, above, and you're like, but I can't help it.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, but if you have, so what I'm saying is, just so you can understand us better, my dear sister, yeah, is that if he said that, wallahi, the feminists will be in his house with stones, throwing rocks in his, yeah. So the thing is, I understand where you're coming from, 100%. I hear you out, but we are created in a way where we are being attacked with something that is in our body that we cannot help. But okay, we're gonna go to Dawood. Then Sister Ira wants to ask a question there. No, she pressed the button. She pressed the button. She pressed. Sister Tahira,
Yeah, I definitely.
you've got 1.5 minutes. Go.
I think definitely as women, Muslim women, in living in the West, we need to take that ownership on, like Sister at the end said, that if your husband is worried to speak to you, then over this matter, then number one, there's something quite deep between your relationship, where if something deeply disturbs you as a spouse, you should be able to seek counsel in your husband and vice versa. Now, if you've overreacted in other things, it could be something his eyes gazed away, momentarily, and you picked that up and you threw a big, a fuss about it. There's no way he's going to feel comfortable enough to come and speak to you about that. So I definitely think as women, we need to take that responsibility on, that if our husband, they don't feel comfortable enough to talk to us, then it's something about our approach and how we've handled, situations or scenarios around that case. I think another thing really, really important is if a sister, my advice would be to all sisters, that if you find yourself in a position where your husband has expressed
30 seconds
that he wants to get married again, and not necessarily seeking your permission, but more of an informing you that it's something you have to reflect on yourself
It's a
and
test
prepare
for you.
yourself.
Yeah, it's a
Exactly.
test for you.
And reflect on yourself that
15
alhamdulillah,
seconds.
all these years I have enjoyed a blessed marriage and that,
May Allah preserve you.
one-to-one with my husband. But now my reality is going to be different. I'm going to be
Yeah.
tested
What would that
on
look
my
like?
emotions, on my jealousy, on my connections with Allah, on how I react to scenarios. So it's a personal journey
You can
that the
interject.
woman needs to consciously embark in and feel like, well, this is a test to see how Allah is testing her to see how she responds.
Yeah.
If that's, if she decides to
exactly.
do the opposite, which is, throw the divorce card or throw this card, then ultimately she's falling into the act of disobedience.
Thank
as
you,
opposed
thank
to-
you.
Family.
But look how productive it is. We're trying to understand each other. We're trying to learn. No one's blaming no one else. We're just trying to understand each other better. Dawood?
So I was hearing the sisters what they said right now. It's quite a contrast because at the beginning they were like over my dead body. So in
I still stand.
Yeah,
but-
I'm just saying in
I'm
response.
the only one. I feel
I'm
like
just-
I'm left the only one who's like, do not even think about it.
I'm just saying in response.
That's what the person said.
I'd rather know. I'd rather know than not know.
My first
I'd rather
yeah.
mentally and
Oh, look,
emotionally
it's like the sense of what I'm about to
Press the
say.
button.
The sense of what I'm about to say.
Okay, go on.
So in response, because there was a lot of like a very long monologue that was given here, and I'm sure the husbands are watching this. So in a way, you're giving ammunition to your husbands because they're hearing you out.
Alhamdulillah, it's a bit of true problem.
But what I'm trying to say, I totally agree with what the sister's saying, by the way. So like, there's an attempt right now, sort of like, there's this guy called Destin. That's this guy, the YouTuber, and he's known to be like a debater, whatever. And like, there is like an attempt right now, like in the Western world, to like normalize open relationships.
Yeah.
Where like, so for those who don't know what that is, it's like where female and the husband both are in agreement to have sexual relationships
Like an animals.
outside
Animals.
their marriages. So there's an attempt to normalize this. And you see that a lot of like even the non-Muslims are like not down with that. What I'm trying to say is that I think if you look at places like Yemen, I saw this video, it's funny. There's this guy, he's on a compound and there's this white guy next to him and he goes like, how many wives do you have? And he goes like, I don't know, he had loads of women.
Oh, by the way, that guy was committing haram, bro. He had
I
more than
know,
4
I
wives. He
know.
had like 6, 7.
I know,
He had
I know.
83.
There is an opinion that says you can have 9 wives, and this is the opinion of Ibn Hazm.
But
Yeah,
you
let's
follow
go.
it.
Let's go to it after.
Okay, let's
but,
go.
like,
Okay, let's go.
Like he, in response, he looks
Very strong opinion.
No, honestly, it's a good opinion. I'm not saying it's the right one. I believe in 4, but
Yeah.
he says mathna wa thulatha
I
wa
believe in 4 as well.
Yeah, because he said mathna 2, add 3, add 4.
Yeah.
And
Ah.
and also, he's 9. And then if you
Can
add
we
the
just,
fact that it's 9 women, so the Prophet had 9 at the same time. You
Yeah,
give good
yeah,
evidence.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Dawood, just to touch upon something, look, Dawood just going to say something. And by the way, isn't it interesting the ayah in the Quran starts with marrying 2s, 3s, and 4s. And the scholars say that the fact that Allah started with 2, not 1, because it says marrying 2s, 3s, and 4s, if you can't be just marry 1, meaning the default position is every man should have 2 wives. And when he's like, nah, this is too much for me, then have another wife, but 1 wife.
Yeah. So the guy responds and laughs at him. He was like, "How many wives do you have?" He goes like, "I have 1." And he starts laughing.
Please come to my janazah,
But
guys.
he's
after the
on
show.
the compound and his wives are all seeing this. So what I'm trying to say is I think it's a cultural thing because, and I said this before last time, in the African American community amongst the Muslims, it seems to be that polygyny is more accepted, and this is something they discuss, and this is something, it's a reality because of the equation in terms of the amount of men being in prison and the amount of men, the ratio between
Bro,
men.
the amount of men who are homosexuals.
Also in Atlanta and places like that. So the females over there are accustomed more to reality, and therefore they are more happy to share husbands. And I think, so it's not necessary to do with, we like to say a lot, the nature of the female, the nature, like human can adapt, innit? Like we can adapt. There are always going to be certain things about us that are hardwired, you're right, but like we can adapt. Like we can have a society, what the sister was saying, where husbands and wives can have conversations about this. Myself and my wife, we had these discussions before, and you know what? Because my wife she always gave me the sort of the feeling that I could be open with her. I told her at one point that, look, babe, that's the sister.
Is that you, yeah?
I'm possibly one of
Dawood. May Allah bless you. Oh, carry on.
Sorry. I was like, there's possibly a sister.
That was going to call me after the show. Bro, can you blur my face, please?
There's possibly a sister. I wanted to, this is early on. I did certain things wrong.
Yeah.
Granted, sorry, babes. But I did tell her.
Yeah,
I did tell her, right? And the
Now,
only
may Allah bless you, brother. It's an honourable man who's done it in an honourable way. Come on.
the only reason
Big
why I
up.
told her was because she gave me the feeling that I could talk to her about
Yes.
it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah.
Okay.
Because of
Sister-
you,
Sister-
Ali.
Sister-
Sorry, Ali. Because of you,
Sister Ira.
I actually had this conversation. With
Okay,
my
good.
husband
Check this
as
out.
well.
Check this out. So, Sister Amira had this conversation with her husband because of me. How did it go?
So
Can we zoom in, please, to the
I'm
sister?
a very open person,
Yeah.
and for me, my integrity matters the most because at the end of the day, if we based our relationship on trust and honesty and just, like we're friends, we're friends before
Mashallah. That's
we're
very good.
husband and wife, I would feel so hurt if my husband couldn't talk to me and go and marry somebody else behind my back. And then now it's leaking into lying to me on a day-to-day basis, going to meet some next chick. I don't even know, did she test? Because let's face it,
it's a reality.
a
It's
lot of
reality.
men marry women without even getting certain tests. And then if he brings me some disease back, then it will be his janaza for real.
Literally. And we'll do janaza over him.
Because
So what did
I
you
can't be
okay,
doing
Sister
stuff like
Amira, may Allah bless you. And by the way, Sister Amira, just because there's some jahil people, she's not wearing the hijab properly. She actually doesn't wear hijab and she's trying to. So for those people, some jahils, yes, she comes to the show and wears it, and so does our dear
I actually wear
wife
it
as
now
well.
on a
Exactly.
day-to-day
May Allah bless you, inshallah, preserve you. So the thing is here, for those people who are toxic and talking about this nonsense, just to give a disclaimer, please control your tongues. So anyways, you had this discussion with your husband.
Yes.
I want to know, what did he say?
Well, I literally had an open
Okay.
discussion, and
Yes.
maybe if he, he'll come on one day.
We
if I
definitely,
force
so I
him.
need to meet him, yeah.
And I just said, would you want to get a second wife?
Yeah, yeah.
And for him, he said no. Like,
He said no, please bring him here.
He said no.
Please, I beg you, bring him here.
He
Wallahi,
said no.
bring him here.
But you have to bear in mind,
Of course he's gonna
I
say
am
no.
5 wives in one human
sister.
being.
Sorry,
So,
sister.
I'm
Nah, sister.
even 9 wives at this
sister.
point.
Sister, you know what I want you to do? I want you to bring your husband here.
He
Just
literally will
listen.
not let anybody
Sister.
say no, will you?
Sister, I'm telling you, bring your husband here. I'm telling you, give me 3.5 minutes.
But I ended up saying to him, like, look, if you did ever change your mind, and for whatever
He hasn't changed his mind. His mind is
reason,
already decided. He's just
for
saying that to you.
whatever reason you wanted to actually get married again,
Yeah.
have that discussion with me openly, because although it might hurt me, although it might be something that I'm not in favor of, I would see why, I would understand, and obviously go back to the dean
May Allah bless you,
and
sister.
understand that.
Sister
okay,
Amira, may Allah bless you. We're going to go, sister, at once I'm going to come. May Allah bless you. And by the way, guys, jokes aside, this is a serious matter, The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that a man who has 2 wives and he favors one over the other will come on the day of judgment leaning, his body will be leaning on one side. We joke around here, this and there, but it's not a joking matter. It's a serious matter. It involves another woman, it involves her emotions. There's so many factors. I'm not here to say pro or against. All I want to do in this show is so we understand, just understand us. Wallahi, just understand us the way we understand you. That's all we're saying. I'm not saying to anybody, go and get married again, etc., because there's consequences. Like you said, even hijab, he said he doesn't recommend it because it can be detrimental. No man who does this, by the way, to the sisters, wakes up and says, I'm going to ruin my wife's life right now and make her suffer. No man does that. Wallahi, believe us, we are created in a way where sometimes it can be peak and it should be done in the correct way. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent these protocols in place, because men like to do it in a way without responsibilities. Let me get what I want. No. Brother, that's why I tell the sisters, if he's going to do it, you tell him. You marry that woman, you give her mahar, you do all of that stuff. You know what he's going to say? Nah, I ain't got time for that. Let's go to Sister Ira, and then we're going to come to the brothers, and we're going to wrap up. We need to wrap up. Sister Ira. One second, sister. Yep.
Maybe she doesn't want to.
No, she does. She's on the show. Yeah. I know, but I know what
I
you
just want
mean.
to make 3 different. One of them clarification. So for someone who's in a guess that was, I would amount to good decision. Upset, right? Like, where is all of a sudden that rahmah gone towards her? Me stems from desire, business, and adjustments, especially from the women's side. So why can he not just, I guess, crunch this desire? Secondly, what I wanted to say was men want respect and women want love. But
Now that love is going to be split 50-50, let's just say there's 2 wives in the scenario, right? He's out here investing 100% of herself, mentally, emotionally, physically, and herself, the children at home, future, but she's only getting 50% back, you know, because he's only going to be spending half the time with her, whether that is physically or whether that is emotionally.
Quality permission.
Not just that, but if a woman is acting out, then acting more psychotic, now why? But something to say, like, you know how men can't overlook a woman who has a past because, you know, they'll
It's not the same
can't
thing.
accept it. If a woman's got a past, it's straight up no for them. Much like that, I would imagine a woman to find it very difficult to accept that her man will now have this woman, and it's not just something that happened in the past, but rather.
But sister, it's not about us though. It's.
Sister
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but. Huh?
Sister Swat, 1 second. Sister Swat, and then
No,
we're going to
can we do
this? Sister Swat, this, and then hijab.
I don't think so. If you want.
No.
Wait. Let me.
It is almost like that.
Okay, go on.
Please, we need to wrap
So
up.
yes, you're right. It's not about us,
Mm.
but it is to some degree. It is about me. It's not 100% about me. I am just as much in the relationship as he is. You can't take me out of the equation. Nor can you take out my emotions, my well-being, and the children's well-being. Because if I'm not okay in my mind, neither are my children.
Yeah, but that's
sister,
on,
sister,
that's on you to work on as a woman. You
Sister-
need to
sister
be
Ira.
able to manage your
Sorry,
own
please.
emotions and that's what I was saying earlier on when I
Why
said
can't
try
I do
and
that too?
no, that's what I was saying earlier when I said we need to try and understand men better. They understand us very well. They know when we're not feeling great, when there's certain things going on. But when they're coming to us with an issue that is very, very sensitive, rather than saying, okay, let me sit down and see how I can help my husband, how I can.
No, but no,
It is,
sister,
but
sister.
this is how Allah has made. No, but
That is true.
no, but this is. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Yeah, but
Hang on, let me
sister,
finish.
it's a
Okay,
valid,
guys,
it's a valid desire.
This is.
Yeah.
Hang on.
It's
Let
a
me
valid
finish.
desire.
Let me
One
land.
second. One
Let me
second.
land. Let me land, as
Let
they
the
say.
sister
Yeah.
Swat land.
Hang on. So this is about
Press the buzzer first.
us trying to help them with their. This is something that Allah has ingrained into them. They can't help it. It's like being born with one hand. They can't help it. Exactly. So then we need to work together. And
Can I-
look, I'm not. I'm
Okay,
the
just
same.
one
I'm
second.
going to say to you, like, I would not
Guys.
want my husband to have a
Guys.
second wife.
Okay, good.
But-
It's ingrained in them, so you're causing oppression.
That's
No,
not
no,
oppression.
no,
How's
no,
that
one
oppression?
second.
No, but that's not
No,
oppression.
guys,
though.
sister Ira.
This is
Sister Ira,
something
I'm
that
so
Allah
sorry.
has made in
Guys,
them. Why do we not understand that?
Guys, hello, sorry. This, please,
Sorry, we'll go back to the topic.
guys, 1 second, please. 1 second. There's a few things that was touched upon. I want to come to. We're gonna wrap up, inshallah. Yeah, okay. Yes. So what I'm saying is, in a nutshell, is that the man feels less loved when the woman spends more time with his kids. He's given 50% of the love, and there's statistics that show that men feel deprived. Yeah. Now, when it comes to desire, what you're doing is you're equating desire with, you're saying mine is marriage, but yours is just desire. It's like me belittling what you're going through. What if I came and said, for example, that you're going through menopause and your period, and when you're pregnant as well, when the woman is pregnant, it's we've been learning here, it's hard to have intimacy. Okay, so can the man come and say, hold on a second, I am being deprived, and there are studies that show a man's sexual drive, there is no comparison. So this is the reason why we say, but biologically, when I had that discussion with that toxic feminist girl, yeah, you guys are vulnerable in a altercation. When it comes to a man, you are biologically weaker. That is your most vulnerable state you're in. You require a man to be there to protect you. A man's most vulnerable state is when it comes to intimacy. And when a man is deprived of that, you are also saying, on top of that, you are not allowed to get married again. You have to shut up and go through whatever I'm going through and put up with it. So it's unfair.
Just on the points you said you wanted guidance and clarification. But it did seem a bit like a polemic. But I would say that the first and second points that you made anyway had assumptions of a liberal and feministic kind, undoubtedly. The first one was you were talking about, well, these are the desires of men and these are the desires of women. Who says that we are living our lives on the hedonistic principle? Who says that we are living our lives at the pain and pleasure threshold is what we base morality on? This is not what despite the fact that sometimes we can feel bad about something that could be good for you. The Quran says that very clearly. I mean, we don't believe that just because something can feel bad to an individual, man, woman, or child, that thing becomes bad itself. So this idea, remember, Islam has a communitarian ethic at the end of the day. It's not about what's good for the individual actors. It's about what's good for the collective, number one. And number two is not just that, it's about what's good that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to worship Him. For example, military warfare, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْقِتَالُ وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ, that military warfare has been prescribed upon you and is something disliked by you. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. You can hate something and it's good for you, and you can love something that's bad for you. So the premise of the first question is completely falsified. In fact, it's almost as if I'm speaking to, with respect, a non-Muslim on the matter. Because I would say to them, if I was speaking to a non-Muslim on the matter, how do you prove your premise that in fact the egoistic, individualistic, liberal, hedonistic principle that you have is actually a true one in the first place to base morality? That's the first thing. The second thing is when you said that, well, she's putting in this much in the relationship and he's putting in this much. You've assumed equality. There's undoubtedly you've assumed equality. And once again, that's feminism, second wave feminism. You've imported that into the religious discourse and then challenged us with it. Remember, we don't agree with feminism. I don't believe that equality of value equals identicality of roles. I believe that there's equality of value between men and women, but that the roles are different. So even if the man puts in 10%, 5%, 1% into a relationship, and she puts in 100%, that wouldn't indicate to me there's injustice going on, disparity or inequity. So for me, this is not the way that the situation is being dealt with. So in short, therefore, I would say that all of your questions seem to have an import of a post-Enlightenment, liberal, colonial, white mankind, which we don't need to have when we're having these discussions between Muslims. In fact, you can see that the discussion so far has been from at least a big section of today's has been Quran and Sunnah. We talk about Quran, Sunnah, scholars. Quran, Sunnah, so you're talking to me about 50% this, 100% this, feelings this. We're not following the religion of feelings. As I said before, I'm not going to prostrate or bow down to anyone's feelings here. So in sum, therefore, I think if we want to challenge a position as Muslim people, we need to challenge the Muslim people with Islam, not with something imported from outside or presuppositions which have a different kind of backdrop. So that's what I was saying to you. It's very important that we get that right.
May Allah bless you, Hijab. And also, just to bear in mind, we're not saying that and we're going to come to Sister Ira because I think there's 2 more points she's going to make it. We're going to probably wrap up with what she says. But just to touch up on the thing, we're just trying to say we're not saying that we don't care about your emotions, etc. We're just saying that the Quran and Sunnah comes first. And also, for example, Sister Ira, also just to touch up on is that if you think about it, as men, when a thief breaks the house, we have to go down and we might not return back. When a war happens, like it's happened in Ukraine, these trans women are told, shut up, you're a man now, come and join the war. Yeah. So when it comes to that, can you imagine we have to go and I might be coming home. Just imagine as a man, the ghira that we have for our wives, bro. Imagine you're going to war and you might get, killed. You're not coming back. Your wife is getting married to another man. Yeah. We don't come and say, well, hold on a second, bruv. Why don't you go to war? I'll cook biryani all day, every day, bruv. Curry, all the curries, I'll make delicious dishes, yeah? You go to war and I'll cook. No, what would my wife say? She'll say, shut, you are the man? Yallah, you have to go. We as men don't, this is the good point. We as men don't complain. We are ready to put our neck on the line for our family, our deen, and go. And we don't talk about emotions and go, well, hold on a second. If I die, someone's going to marry you. You're going to be with someone else. But why is it that when, as men, we talk about our concerns and what we go through and our hormones, we are, shut, be quiet, and you're hurting me. But vice versa, it's not the same.
Can I just say,
We're
sorry,
wrap up.
this is a Western point of view because,
what's
sorry,
the point of view?
like
Sister
in
Ira,
terms of
we're
polygamy,
Yeah.
it is a Western point of view. In Africa,
Yeah.
Senegal,
Yes, it's practices,
Ivory
it's
Coast,
practices.
Nigeria, this is more normalized. So us from a Western gaze,
Yes.
it is more of a, because we
Abnormal.
have been brought up in
Exactly.
a monogamous type of mindset.
Yes, Romeo and Juliet. False.
However, most
Nonsense.
scholars do not recommend
Romeo, Juliet, and Stacey.
for men to have secret wives. Most scholars do say, just tell the wife or make it known because of X, Y, Z. That's all I want to say.
Exactly. Sister Ira, you said you didn't finish your point. I don't want to cut you off context.
So,
Yeah.
these are some of the
Last points and we're wrapping up.
your
Yeah?
wife directly.
Wow. I knew there was a plot twist.
About jihad, right?
Yes,
Would we
yes.
go through jihad every night?
Should be refuted when we go home.
What do you have to say about that?
Say that again. Say again. Say again. Just text me. Come back to me, man.
Women do jihad every time they give birth. Women do jihad every time they wear hijab in the Western world. It's jihad every day, right? For women,
This is
hijabi women.
This is a refutation to my wife. Can we get the cameras close, please?
And also, she said that you should also fast.
I'll be fasting with my new wife. Okay, look, guys. Jokes aside, yeah.
Let's go back to the topic and talk
Yes,
about
yes.
practicality. How does it work, secret wife?
It's-
How are you a provider? How are you a carer? How are you fair? How are you a high-value man? If you are lying, hiding, and asking the second one, how can you accept the situation? I just want to know the practice.
Okay, good. I think we discussed on that.
No woman, even if she accepts origin, and I can tell you,
Yeah.
because I know people that have said that,
Yeah.
because they put themselves already in a really bad situation,
Yeah.
in a fitness situation. Let me just
Okay, then get the camera on
How
her.
does
This is
it
speaking.
work? Because in the beginning, very often obviously they're in love, maybe they have like feelings for the person.
Yeah.
Very often they have put themselves in a situation that now makes the marriage an obligation.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Second.
La ilaha illallah. Sister Soul, have mercy on us, please.
Every woman's gonna say like, you know what, I take only 1 day a week, it's fine as long as I have you in my life. But it will never last. And we all know that because every woman will want to have what the other one has.
Okay,
No one likes
okay.
changes. That's all I want.
No, that's fine. No, there is, but we need to wrap up, guys. And not only that, we talked about this in the other episode of polygamy. We discussed this. So today's topic is more about secret second wife. Polygamy, we discussed this. It's going to come out.
I'm talking about the practicality of second wives.
Yes. Maybe we can have another discussion on its own because it's a broad topic and talking about how it's done in a.
I'm talking about the practicality. How does it work?
I understand. What I'm saying is, time is running out, sister. Time is running out. Look, we're nearly 2 hours, yeah? I know, sister, but time is running out. Part 2 to be continued, yeah? In a nutshell, yes, of course, everyone is in a form of jihad in the context of, like you said, a woman who's given birth. Yes, but what I'm trying to say is this, yeah, is that in the context, what we're trying to say is that a man who is, look, when your husband gets another wife, you're not dying, like you're not going to die. Yeah, you're not going to physically die, number one. Number two, he's coming back home to you. Number two, he provides for you, he protects. The same man is coming back to you. When I go to war and I die, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. So one second.
Ali, let me say come back.
One second. I'm not coming back. You're coming back. I'm coming back home to you. But when you're sharing me, it's another woman. But in the context, when I'm going to war, I ain't coming back, bro. I'm gone. You know what? That's why I believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us men about Hur al-Ain, by the way, if you guys know Hur al-Ain, that we're going to have in Jannah, inshallah. Yeah. So the Hur al-Ain we're going to have. You know why? Because if you think about it, guys, 1 second. We're finished there. Guys, why, why has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us men about Hur al-Ain? And they are described in a very, very specific manner. Why? Because Allah created us. He knows our weaknesses. He knows what we want. We're a simple people. Why is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't gone into details what women are going to get? You know why? Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said you're going to get 1 palace and 1 bag, he will say, oh, but I want 10 palaces. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't go into details. But when it comes to the man, bro, very simple. Hur al-Ain, thank you all day, every day, brother. And that's why.
You can wait until.
That's why.
Ali, I just wanted to say, yeah. And this, I think this is the problem.
Can I just finish the point?
The way we discuss this thing.
So what I'm saying is this, yeah. That's why the incentive for a man who's going to war, knowing he's going to die and not come back to his wife, he has the incentive of Hur al-Ain. Alhamdulillah, all day, every day. Dawood with you.
So this is just a disclaimer. Yeah, very quickly, a disclaimer.
Yes, please.
I agree with what Hijab was saying from an ideological point of view. I also agree with what you were saying about the intention behind it, but I feel like this is the problem, the way we discuss this topic in the first place. To me, as an outsider, just listening to both sides, it seems a bit like tit for tat. And in this,
it's just understand each other.
No, it's tit for tat, but it's not understanding, because understanding, you know what? What the sister said, the way I would have responded, I would have said, look, sister, first of all, you said it's about desire. Right?
No, she said it's about desire.
Yeah, she said, and so what?
Exactly.
So what? It is about desire.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be honest, yes.
Yeah.
If a man...
Thank you, Dawood. Thank you, bro.
If a man has desire to fulfill that, and he wants to multiply in the land, and he wants to build families, because we are Muslims. The moment the man gets married again, what he does is he generates, you need to generate extra energy to be a father twice, to be a husband twice, to be a provider twice. And so it's not that the desire is something dirty. It's that we're curtailing the desire in a way that is pleasing to Allah.
Thank you. May Allah bless you, inshallah. Guys, we need to wrap up. If you want part 2,
Yeah,
comment in the section below, inshallah.
Yeah.
May Allah bless our honorable sisters here, our honorable sisters there, our honorable brothers all the way there for having a part in this, inshallah. And may Allah bless you guys. Till next time, if you want part 2, no problem. Comment in the section below. Till next time from the Bitter Truth Show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever builds a masjid for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will build for him a similar house in Jannah. On that day where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that our books will be given and every little atom weight of good deed you've done will be there. And imagine you see a mountain and you're like, what a lucky person. Which righteous person? And Allah says, this is for you. For me? Yes. What did I do? You allowed people to pray. You built a masjid. I never had the money to build a masjid, oh Allah. You helped. You gave towards it and Allah gives you the reward of as if you've built it. Donate now, guys, and do not delay. And share the video for extra rewards.